Good evening, I think. We'll try. We'll see. I was having flashbacks. For those
Ta-da!
of you that don't know, tech is being tech, and that's what we're gonna say tonight. Tech is just being tech. But thank you so very much for coming and joining us tonight, because it's been a while since the band has been together, and we're glad. We're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're joining us, whether this is live or whether you're catching the replay. It doesn't matter. You took some time out of your schedule to join us, and for that we are eternally grateful. So thank you, thank you. And guys, how you been?
Ah,
Good.
Yep.
It has been
Good.
good. We had Christmas came and went and did its thing, and nobody, threw anything at anyone else in a mean, violent way.
Can you share that secret? That can be tonight's show. I
Yeah,
think every parent in here
yeah.
and every parent watching would get so much more out of that than anything else that we would ever say tonight.
probably. Yeah, but the ultimate failing though is that I've got 4 boys who like to game, and they are in different parts of the country, so they're all home and such together. So what happens is that at about 9 o'clock, when Dad's headed, getting ready for bed, the 4 of them go into the living room. We've got the TV in there, and they're on. Well, I don't even know what game they're playing, and they all sit there and game until like 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. So no, I don't. I think it's just that they're tired from gaming all
You're
night.
tired from all the
Yeah,
gaming.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing that
Like
I've
to
done
sleep.
beyond that. So
Do they keep you up?
yes, yes, but I've been trying to be patient with that thing, and that because it is kind of neat to watch them engage and interact, especially as they get to be adults and or older, and some are adults there. It's neat to watch that. It's just I wish they would do it during earlier hours. I mean, if they would do it from like 6 in the morning until that would be awesome. That's
So you
my
went to bed?
yeah. Well, in the morning I'm up at 6. So
Yeah.
yeah, somewhere if they could start at 5:30, I'd be good. It's like yeah, now you're up with me. But anyway,
They could be your alarm clock.
no, I would be their alarm clock, but
Oh, okay.
they could at least be up and at that time of the day because that fits unfortunately my daily schedule more. So guys, I've got some questions that we're going to dig into tonight, and then kind of go through a few areas and do some of that. We're going to be pulling a couple of business a couple of things from the business world, and then there's some that people have been asking more philosophical questions, and we're going to hit both of those angles tonight with our show. So let's kind of jump into our first question here. I'm going to put a marker in. Now, our first question tonight is dealing with finding clients. Now, I've joined a couple of different Facebook groups, and one of the common questions or desires for people joining these different Facebook groups is that they're like, hey, I'm excited to get back into it. I was in it and I got out of it. I've done this. But basically DJs who are either just starting out or just getting into it or are fairly new in it, and they're struggling to find clients. And that's really one of their big desires for being part of these groups. How do I find shows and how do I find events? So this is an area in which I think it is very dependent upon where you are in the country. First off, I think it's going to be much different from area to area. And Dan, as I hate to say it, I think this is an area that Cubbie probably excels more than you and I together. So, Cubbie, I think we're gonna kind of let you lead in this and such a little bit about this is your big time of the year. You've been having the inquiries coming in and things. What do you do as a company to really try to garner clients? And again, for those of you listening and you're like, okay, this can be great. Keep in mind, Cubbie has been around for I know he looks like he's a young man, but he's been around for a couple of years in the DJ industry. So.
Don't call Barney Rubble for nothing.
I always say I'm the oldest fish in the pond. And the thing is when you go to a location or a new location, or you're getting back into it, or you're just starting out, when you arrive at the venue, don't be that DJ. Leave your attitude at the door, leave your ego at the door. Nobody really cares about what you've done, who you are, how great you are. I hear that from venues all the time is, yeah, he came in and said how great he was, but then we had an empty dance floor. So just do your job and say, hey, don't say, well, I've got to be here. Work with them, right? You guys are all on the same team for the same day. And so just be be that great DJ to that venue and that photographer, and let them store. I don't know why so many DJs get so upset when a photographer puts their bag by their gear. I invite them to. I mean, they know that that camera bag is not mine. It doesn't take away from my gear, but that photographer appreciates it because they're closer to their gear, right? And they can, and we're talking and we're communicating. They're not clear across the room because I push them clear across the room. We can work together and go, hey, look, get ready. I'm going to do this setup. We're doing the toast. We're going to start with the father of the bride, and we're working together. It's a synergy. Same thing with the venue. Compare timelines and make sure that you guys are all on the same page for that day. But I'd have to say, most importantly, is leave your ego at the door. Go in there, just be super humble. And then 2 days afterwards, send an email. Go, hey, look, I was at your venue this last weekend. Had a great time. Man, what fun bartenders you have. Whatever you can. Because in the bridal food chain, it goes date, venue, photographer, and then sometimes dress. I don't know, but I don't suck up to a dress company, but I do suck up to the venues and the photographers, because I do know in that bridal food chain, if they love working with you, they will let that client know. And that's how you do it organically, honestly.
I would definitely agree with that. And just from the standpoint, something you pinpoint on was like leaving the ego at the door. I realized that some of this we're talking about how do you get clients, and we're kind of talking about like you have to have a client first. So that kind of feels a little bit weird. But one of the things that I've done at a venue, there was a venue that I was on the preferred list, and then they had like a complete gutting of everybody that was management and wedding planner and day of coordinator. They were all gone, right? Some of the staff that was servers are still there, but like everybody else is gone. So I was worried about how I was going to get back in. I already had one on the books, so I kind of lucked out. Showed up to do the wedding, and this is a wedding where we do the ceremony and the reception in the same room. They kick everybody out for cocktails, flip it, and bring everybody back in. In that time period of flipping, there's a lot that happens with the venue. And there's jack squat that's happening with me because I'm already set up from the ceremony, and they leave me set up. They let me stay up in the same spot. So I'm allowed to basically help. And that's what I do. I just you need place cards put down, I'm your man. You need me somebody to light some candles? Give me a flame torch. Like it does not matter. I'm going to help out in any way that I can. And what happens? Not only is that venue referring me, but I'm also they're also now telling me about, hey, I referred you for this one. This one should be coming your way. Like we not only talked to you about you, we want you here. Like, and that kind of, because you like go out of your way. I'm not saying like, jump in and do something where they told you not to, but offer to be an assistance in any way that you can, whether it's the little things or the big things, and you will get on this preferred list really quick. And that's going to get those things coming through. Now, to the other part, like how do you get those names coming in the first place to get even that first one? It comes down to just make sure you're active in the social media realm. Make sure you're active make sure your website and your SEO is up to date so that people can randomly find you, for that piece. But you're still going to have some people that are randomly finding, right? There's still going to be some people that are putting in the search, find DJs near me. Look for those kind of opportunities to make sure that game is good so that you have the opportunity to then get that word of mouth coming in. So you get funnels from both sides.
And lastly, be at a price point to where you could get some of those as you're new. Once again, I'm not saying that you've got, 5, 10 years in the business to lower your price to get back into clients, but if you have those reviews, so I would say, I would throw it out there, if your price is $2,000, maybe look at dropping it down to $1,600 for 4 or 5 weddings. If they promise to leave a review on the knot, or give you positive feedback, review, things of that nature. So don't be afraid to lower your price to get some events underneath your belt so you can get those reviews, because you've got to have something to back up what you're telling your client that you can do. And those reviews are what is exactly what it is.
Excellent. Good information there, guys. Good information. Let's jump to our next question, which will be kind of a bridge off this one. So as you guys are talking, there's something that I think we need to discuss is what are some of the things that venues value? And of course, Dan kind of alluded to one, but we're going to kind of rehash everything in this question because I think this is a good standalone question because there are different things that different venues value. And one of the areas that Cubbie kind of mentioned, that somebody from a venue had talked about the bad and talked about an empty dance floor in a negative light. So let's kind of go through and make a list of a few things that venues do value, maybe some things that we think the venues value and they don't care about that much. So
I think ideally they care about things that are going to make them look good. So for example, a packed dance floor, they don't necessarily care about a packed dance floor, but what they care about is the photographer getting pictures of their venue's dance floor being packed, right? They care about, they care about that look. They care about the person that's going to care about their venue. I one particular venue that I'm at periodically, I get the horror stories from some of the events that happen, right? And one of the things that they don't like is the DJ that kind of almost encourages the overindulgence,
mm,
right? They encourage by whatever they do to the guest being so sloppily drunk. Now, I don't know necessarily how a DJ is doing that unless they're buying shots for people, but
could be.
they're doing something because the venue owner was talking with me and she was just like, she's like, you'll never believe last weekend it was so bad and we had such a mess to clean up in the parking lot from people that were getting sick.
Oh,
Like, and like, I'm like, and that was somehow related to the DJ. She's like, yeah, she's like, when you're here, we don't have those kinds of problems. Your guests have a good time. Now, maybe it's the different type of client that I'm
mm-hmm.
associating with, maybe. But that's the thing. They're caring about the things that make them look good and make their job easier. Cubby?
Cubbie,
Yeah,
what are
I guess to expound on that, your professionalism, how you talk to them, how you treat them, how you treat their staff. What is your, they probably really don't care about what your setup is, but that it works, that you know what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, your timeline, knowing that you're going to cut the cake. Like I said, when you arrive and after you get done setting up and you're meeting with the venue, the banquet manager to to compare timelines, that you're all on the same page. They appreciate the little things that you do, like dancing to make them look good. I'm a last call guy. I know there's a lot of DJs like, I'm not making last call. It's going to empty my dance floor. I'm a last call guy because you know what? I got to go work. The couple doesn't really care, right? If you do last call,
mm-hmm.
but I got to go back to that venue, and I want to go back to that venue. So, hey, what time do you need last call? Fantastic, I'll do that for you. And I play short end of the shots and tell them, make sure you take care of the bartenders as they took care of you all night long. And that's it. I can just play, keep my energy high on the dance floor. Because if you're doing a great job, they're gonna run, get a drink, and run right back out.
And you said like keeping the venue informed, not just like day of, but
Right.
in advance, right? Like, hey, by the way, this is what I have for a timeline. This is what I have. And not, again, not going in there with that mentality of like, I know everything. It must be my way. Yeah, we're guiding the show, so we probably should have a say in the way things go. But in the same respect, that venue, this is their house. This is their rules. And guess what? If they go to if the couple goes and has a meeting with the venue and they say no, this is the way it's going to be, it's going to be kind of tough for you to come along and say no, this is the way it's going to be, because again, as Cubby said, where's that hierarchy? Date, venue,
Mm-hmm.
right? They've had a longer relationship with that venue probably. So being able to work, within their confines, being able to work with the things that they're wanting, um, and again, working with, not working against, not working for, but working with, um, creates that mutual respect and definitely helps in the long run for those venues.
And one last thing, John, before we
Go
jump
ahead.
off of venues, if they had do any sort of open house, go out and volunteer to play music as they bring their brides in, or they do a tasting for food tasting for all the couples. Out here where I live, they have tastings. They also have open houses. I can do more open houses and get the clients that I want where I want, versus going to do a bridal show.
Gear. How often do venues make comment about your gear in a positive lights because that's important to them?
I have a Danny Max. John, Dan, you got beautiful gear too. They love it. They love the way it looks. It's sleek. They've seen a lot of setups with just It's just newer DJs that think like lights. Oh, and another last thing I meant to touch on this today, and don't be the loud DJ either. Don't make them have to come and tell you 2, 3 times to turn it down.
Well,
Don't think like loud is better.
you're getting ahead
Yeah.
of me. That was the next question. I mean, that was going to be the next part of this aspect.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Well, you're just so excited.
I did. I get jacked up.
So yes, looking clean, professional.
Oh, at all times.
And
I
the lighting not overly, because as you're kind of going back to what Dan said, they want something that's going to make them look good, and sometimes some of these light shows don't do that.
I have a venue that will take pictures of my setup and include it in their post the next day.
Nice.
Like any other post that I see from them, no, maybe occasionally it's like in the background. I'm talking there's a full-on picture of my setup at their venue every time. Um, it's important to make sure that your stuff is looking clean. I'm just gonna put it that way, right? You don't have to have the latest, greatest booth that or furniture that's out there. It has to be clean for them, right? And I don't mean like you took a washcloth to it. I mean like your cables are run nicely and things like that. Again, are they gonna notice that necessarily or go, oh, that cable is there? No, but they're gonna notice that it makes them look good. And it makes it look like it belongs in their venue. And that's the thing. That's going to be another piece that they're going to want to go for.
If it looks good, they're not going to say anything. But if it looks bad, you're going to hear a lot about it. If it looks like a turd.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So Cubbie, you went to the volume side of it. We as DJs, if we're not, if we're not in the red, if
we're not red line, you're not headlining.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously we have a propensity to want to play and play loud. That can be a problem, and some venues don't appreciate that at all.
No. And make sure your bass is, if you're dealing with cement floors and high ceilings, make sure you drop your bass a little bit so it's not bouncing everywhere. Just a couple of things you can do, but yeah, never be that loud DJ. It just doesn't, it's not gonna work out good for you.
I was thinking about it in all my years of performing at weddings. I don't think I've ever had a venue come up and say, can you play louder? I have occasionally had them ask to turn it down, especially nowadays with the dB meters everywhere, that people are more cognizant of that. The only area really when it comes to sound that I have had people come up from a venue and really talk about is the quality of the microphone from the way it is able to broadcast around the room. The statement of, wow, we could hear everything that was going on at the head table. That was so fantastic. A very important thing, because that made it so that people weren't looking at the venue and saying, why can't we hear in this place? They weren't blaming the venue, or they weren't looking at anything as a shortcoming of that part of the day. Definitely, I think that's an area in which sometimes we don't focus on enough.
Anything, again, things that make them look good, or things that make it be a good experience even for them, right? Like you got to think about it. I think a lot of people that are watching our program are the ones that are doing a quality time, but we all know that there's probably a dozen DJs within a 5-mile radius of your house, and I use the term DJs very loosely, that would show up and have poor quality everything. And that becomes a nightmare for those people that are working that event, because they have to deal with that piece. And it's like, oh my gosh, this night cannot end fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so just having your ducks in a row and taking time to be prideful of what you have there, quality wise, sound wise, look wise, everything else, is going to make you stand out, to those venues as well. So there's another piece to that because they've seen what's not good, right? That they want to see the things that are good, and they want to have that more often.
Excellent. Let's jump to our next question, guys. So for the next one, back in about 2004, somewhere 2002, 3, 4, a gentleman by the name of Mark Farrell was on stage in Las Vegas, and he was putting out his Getting What You're Worth series of seminars. And he talked at that time basically of that in the mobile DJ, the wedding market, that there should be a base price of about $1,200. And that's what should be kind of the starting. If you're going to do a wedding, this is what you should be getting into. And a lot of us heard that, and some of us were intimidated by it. Some of us were like, yeah, let's go. But for those of us who kind of looked at that, figured it out a little bit, and decided to increase our sharing of our value and such, and increase our prices, in the early to mid 2000 aughts, whatever, from about 2006, 7, 8, 9, in that area, we had some great years, basically up until about the 2009, the 2008 kind of crash. Things went south, and now today I've heard numerous DJs talking about that. The ones who were here in that time frame is that they are charging less today than they did then. If we take that $1,200 from then and project it to now, we should have that base price at about $2,100 to keep up just with inflation, not for increasing much, just strictly inflation. And my question that I wanted to kind of discuss, guys, is what happened? Why can't the rates and such, when a person's wanting to get that $2,100 or whatever, why haven't our prices kept up with inflation? Is it a industry problem? Is it a perception problem? What do you guys kind of feel on that one?
I'll take a little bit of a stab at this, and this is some hypothetical piece that we're talking.
Yes.
This is where we get that philosophical.
This is the philosophical side. Yes.
I think for a lot of us, one, we're not business people. We don't have a business sense. We may have had a love of music. We may have, done this at some bar someplace and then decided to take it into a business sense. And so we don't have that salesman aspect to be able to pull that in. But I think another thing is it's what we do. It's a service, but it's also a service that's not really tangible, right? Photographers at the end of the day are giving them prints, whether they're digital or whether they're physical, they're giving them prints. Videographers, the same thing. Venue, they gave them a house over their head, a roof over their head while they were doing their event. The bartender was serving them alcohol. There's the caterer was giving them food, right? Like everybody's got this tangible piece. We're giving them a great time. We're giving them music that they can hear, right? We're giving them memories, but sometimes it's hard to put a price tag on something that doesn't have a tangible side to it, because it almost becomes more, for lack of better terms, made up to the wrong, uneducated mind, right? Because again, those photos cost something. The video costs something because it's a product and that's there. And so I think some of that directs into that why it's been difficult for us to keep up. I think another thing is, and Cubbie nailed it, like we're the last ones on the food chain sometimes. And so it becomes hard for us to go, well, I'm going to be this much money. Oh, we don't have that much left. Oh, you know what? I was just kidding. I'm really this price, or I can do it for this price, but I'll cut out something. And you don't have that confidence in what you are worth to be able to stand your ground and go, if you want me, this is what it's going to be. And I think it also comes down to, I mentioned about, the DJs that are within 5 miles of your house, right? That, you don't, that the only thing they really play is in their basement, right? They are the ones that will go out for a bar tab, and they got everything that they have illegally, and they're using, poor quality equipment. But because somebody might not know the difference, it's hard to go, I'm not them. That's why I'm this. And I think those are some key parts to why, as an industry, some people have not been able to move, especially at that level that inflation has.
Mm-hmm. Cubbie, what are your thoughts of why we some haven't gotten to the 1,200 even yet, but why those who did are struggling and they can't be to that 2,000 range?
I think there's a couple different factors. All of what Dan said, and I'll throw a couple other out there. The economy, with the inflation, other things are getting higher. And like Dan said, since there's not a tangible item, like a food cost, they don't respect what we can do. So I do think that like the economy has a little bit of thing to do with it. They're always looking for a deal. because they only have a certain amount of money they can spend on their wedding. And then I think also, and I hate to use the word that Mark Farrell has used, but bottom feeders. There's always going to be your lower price DJs within your market. And and then we're on, like Dan talked about, several venue preferred list. But I always ask, well, who else is on there? Because if you're gonna put against a $500 DJ and I'm up here and they're on your preferred list, and their customers assuming that they can't be that bad, you know what I'm saying? So when I tell them that I can do this, they see the reviews, they've got the years of experience, they see everything, but yet they're still on the venue's preferred list, then it's clear down here. You know what I'm saying? And I can't compete with that. I can't compete with the $800. If that's all they're doing is kicking tires and going out price alone, and not willing to set up a phone call, just give me price, give me price, give me price. And I can't build that rapport or relationship with them and tell them what we do rather than just press play. And it's also harder to sell.
In your
Something else you just
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
something else I think you just hit on that I think is a really key element to it is I don't think as an industry sometimes I don't think we deal very well with rejection, right? And so if you talk to the people that have done this for a long time and what is a proper closing rate that you should have, right? It's 60 to 70%, right? Of the people that inquire with you that actually book. If you're doing that, you're doing well. And I think in our heads we've got all these people that ghost us. Well, as soon as we give them a price, it's like, well, maybe if I didn't charge that, they wouldn't ghost me, and then I'd have that event. And so therefore, you don't want 100% closing rate. But I think some people, every time they get a singular rejection, it just kind of, oh, well, if I was lower priced, that wouldn't have been a rejection. So I better not up my prices. And I think that's another thing is not tracking your own numbers to know, and I'm guilty of this. I don't track my numbers. But to know that my percentage is a certain spot, I think also helps. Like if you recognize, oh, I'm actually closing more than I thought, that might also give you some more of that confidence to say, no, I'm gonna stay firm, or I'm gonna move up in my pricing. No,
I
Sean.
think you should continue to move up on your pricing at all times as long as you're backing it with reviews, referrals, and education and training to put out a better product.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that is a kind of a common thing across industries, that you've got to be putting out a better product, because if you don't, someone will be taking your lunch.
And no bride is ever going to admit that they hired a crappy DJ for their wedding. I don't care.
Yeah, they just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You
How was your
know,
wedding? It was great. Who was your DJ? I do not
yeah,
remember.
I
And
just
yeah,
we were
yeah, okay.
Unless they were so bad, they just want to rip on the new one.
Yeah. I
Because
get
I
a lot. I
have
wish.
seen that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this gives me another question, and I'm just going to make this another question. This is great. We're not going to get to the other ones because we're going to work it. So let's put a marker here. So our next question, guys, is price shopping more prevalent today, or was it 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Because we've all been in this 10 years or more. Do you feel that there's more price shopping today, or has it changed over the years, or does it kind of, is it a cycle that sometimes some years that there's been more, less? What's your feeling on price shopping and the prevalence of it?
I'll start. I think they are kind of price shopping due to the current economy in the past couple of years inflation rates. I do think they're trying to find that good deal,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find it's going to work out in the budget and maybe where they could maybe save here or there and stuff like that. And I do talk to people in my sales and sales consultations. I'm like, nobody's going to remember the cake. Nobody's going to remember your centerpieces. Nobody's going to remember, but they will remember the party. They're going to remember if the DJ was good or bad. And so just don't come up with a bad one. So, but yeah, I do think there's a level of price shopping today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say I don't think it's any more. And I don't know if Cubby, if you'd say more or less to that
Yeah.
aspect of what you're saying. I would say it's probably about on par with what it was. I think, but in the same respect, I want to say that I think sometimes it's guised. I think there's a disguise of it, and we call it price shopping, when it's not necessarily that, right? If you do not lay out your prices on your website, then at some point that conversation about what it costs to have you is going to be in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll use an Ellen Berg thing. The reason why they ask your price is because they don't know what else to ask, right? Some of you put everything that you have and do to the minute little piece on your website. And so what else is left for them to ask? But what do you charge?
Mm-hmm.
So I think in some pieces, what we would consider to be price shopping is really them just kind of wanting to go, okay, where's this ballpark that we're starting from?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me an idea of what I'm dealing with you? So that I know, okay, let's continue this conversation. Let's go down this path a little bit. And now I have to find out if you're worth it. Right. So I think sometimes we get into that. Now, obviously you will have people that are price shopping, and the only thing that they're going to do is based upon price. But also, again, we have everything that's put out there. Our reviews are out there. Our social media is out there. Previous clients talking up to their friends, all that is out there. So when they reach out to you, if the only thing they ask is price, you give them a price and they leave, that doesn't mean that the only thing that they wanted to know was price. It was the only thing that they got information from you about your services for that price. So I'm not saying like, it wasn't the deciding factor, but it may have been they did a whole bunch of research ahead of time. It wasn't only based upon price, but it was the missing piece to the puzzle that they didn't find out from all their own research that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I would, take back as you're thinking about, what exactly do I consider to be price shopping, and why are they saying that? But I don't think it's any more now than it was before. Um, Maybe a little bit, again, that price inquiry, maybe a little bit less, because I think more and more DJs are getting into the habit of putting prices or at least ranges on their site so that there's at least a starting point for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these couples, or at wedding shows you're giving them a breakdown of some sort, so they have at least a place to kind of start from. But
So this is an area I think that we go in cycles, and I think it does kind of float with the economy a little bit, as Cubbie was surmising there a little. Looking back at it, I felt that like the latter part of the 90s, we had a time where it really didn't matter price wise, that people didn't question, there weren't any, that people basically were calling, hey, are you available? Great, let's get this booked. Then we're going to jump into that latter part of the early 2000s, that five, 6, and 7. That was so common, and I can go back and I can look at contracts and the amount. And it was, are you available? Let's book it. Now those could have been something to do with maybe a shortage of DJs, and people were just trying to find a open spot, and price didn't matter, or maybe not. It's hard to say what that was, but on the other side of those, there were times where people were very, very price conscious, which kind of tells me that, coming from the 90s to the 2000s, we didn't so we had some CDRs were starting to drift a little bit, and mini disc players, but I mean, it wasn't like the barriers were so low at that time that that rush or that roller coaster would have had that effect. So it makes me kind of intrigued to know where we're going to be in about a year and a half. The economy in some ways has looked rough, and the inflation has made people, they in the grocery store cringe. But there's other signs in the economy that there's some positive things going on. So we could be looking in another 2 years at a strong, what people would feel comfortable as a strong economy, and we might be in a completely different world. So I think it's a cycle thing. It'll be interesting to have this conversation in 5 years and say, oh, remember back when we did that show?
I hope I'm not DJing in 5 years, John.
Oh, that doesn't mean we won't do the show.
Yeah, it's true.
We'll do the show. It's like, don't rock your rocker so fast. You make me seasick. That kind of thing. It'll be great. It'll be great, guys.
Instead of in-ear, ultimate ears, I'll have like my little earpieces, like hearing aids or whatever.
We're the senior edition now. It's going to be great, man. It's going to be great. All right, let's jump to our next question here, guys. Our next question is about when you've got, you guys have both talked about having photo booth people with you, and there's times where you might have an assistant with you. When I go out, I'm doing the MC. I've got one doing the DJ thing and one doing lighting. So there's 3 of us. So you might have multiple people. If I'm the quote lead DJ or the DJ of it, and I've got these additional people, and they come up and they say, "Hey, you did a great job, Dan, tonight. This was fabulous. Here, I've got a tip," and they hand you a tip. How do you handle that when you've got people with you? And since I picked on you, Dan, you can go first.
Discreetly hide it so they don't see you get a hand.
Nice. That builds teamwork.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm just glad my assistants don't watch the show.
Oh, yeah.
No. In all seriousness, I do try and give them a portion of what I end up getting. However, I think I'm in a kind of a slightly different situation in some aspects, and maybe I just need to view it a little bit differently. A lot of the times when I'm getting a tip, it's not at the end of the night. It's in a thank you card that was given to me as they walked in, or the wedding planner came over and handed it to me right in the beginning and was like handing it to me. And my viewpoint, because of the stuff that I do in advance, the programming emails, the suggestions, the tips, all of those little things that go into that, I kind of view that as, I don't want to say payment for those things, but the tip is towards those things. It's not because of the performance that I had that night. It's not because of what my assistant did. It's because of the things that I did beforehand. So I might give them, depending upon what it is, I might give them an extra 20 out of what it was, but I'm not going to go splitting it 50-50 or something along those lines, just because they weren't kind of the part that led to it, and we already have an agreed upon part of what they're getting paid for the night.
Okay, so we found out that Dan's a tight butt. So, Cubbie, what would you do?
Frugal.
Frugal.
We actually don't have assistants either, except for photo booth operators.
Exactly. So you've got your photo booth operator, and they're like, "Yeah, you guys this is great, and here's money."
But yeah, if I did have an assistant, I would probably give them the tip, because I appreciate them being there with me. I'm the owner of the company, so I'm a little bit different situation. I own the company, and I've got 5 guys that work for me. So if I had an assistant, he can have the $100, $200, whatever. It's not a problem. If it's a photo booth, I split it between them. But if it's a photo booth, I'll split it with them versus give them the whole amount, because like Dan said, they're party enhancers, but they didn't make or break the party. But if I did have a DJ assistant, he or she would get the entire amount. And when I do train people, I give it to them, and it just kind of gives them encouragement to continue to work for me, and gives them encouragement to, I could get this too, type of a tip. So, and it just, it's fine that way. But I don't have assistants unless I'm training somebody.
And I guess I kind of view it as similar to what I referred to there, Cubbie, is I want to utilize that as an incentive for them to, when they see me doing these little weird things, like, asking myself, what would Cubbie do, and then do that at a show. They are like, well, why do you keep asking yourself that? And it's because if you do these little things, it matters. Little things can add up, and it really matters. And at the end of the night, when you get that sincere thank you and somebody hands you a tip, it's like, okay, guys, this is the lesson tonight, is when you do the little things, you get this. I'll just put it in my pocket and I walk away. Nothing says learning like that. No. The conversation does go similar to that to describe why, but now they've gotten to the point where they understand that they have to be the party spark and the fun and the service person, looking for ways to serve and looking for ways to help, whether it's the venue or that, and that will lead to these things. And when we have that type of a success and we get that kind of feedback in a form of a tip at the show, it goes. I just give it to the boys. They can split it and off they go.
In Midwest, we're pretty tied up here anyway. So, I'm getting $100. It's not gonna be like a 20% gratuity that you're gonna see at a restaurant or something. I get 100, basically. I get $100 bill. There's been opportunities, or there's been other times I've gotten more than that, but on an average, it's a nice $100 bill. And I think it's very sweet. I appreciate anything. Rules of thumb are, is if the owner of the company should not be getting tipped if they're the owner, because they're making the full amount anyway. That is,
I'm not there as the owner that night. I'm there as the DJ.
yeah. Yeah, that's DC Entertainment,
It,
baby.
Yeah.
DC Entertainment.
it's my Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
we go.
aren't you Dan? Is this Dan Carpenter Entertainment?
No, that's Daniel. Daniel's owns the
Oh,
company. I'm Dan.
It's my twin brother.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
Yeah. Mom and Dad just really had a weird way of naming us. I'm Dan. He's Daniel. And then we have our other brother, Danny. Yeah.
Larry.
Yeah.
My
There's
brother Larry.
Darryl.
My other brother Larry.
Yeah. Funny. All right, guys, let's jump to our next question. Okay, so somebody put this up on social media. I thought this would be a great little thing to discuss. They were saying that they had gotten notes that the venue wanted to have, a couple of different things, but they wanted specifically proof of insurance. Not a big deal because that's more common and you see that. But they also were requesting a $500 damage and cleaning deposit from the entertainment. And in the case that what they was shared is that it was from both the photo booth company and the DJ company. And my question to you guys is if you, again, because you both have both DJ and photo booth, if you had a venue that basically sprung this on, through the client at the last minute or fairly last minute, how would you respond to such a thing?
No. First of all, why don't you have insurance? So that shouldn't be the hang up, but that's a whole nother show topic. The $500 deposit damage, something must have happened to them in the past, either confetti or somebody had one of those old boas that looked like you killed a chicken over there by your photo booth. So I could see where that might have happened. I wouldn't pay it. I mean, look, I don't know why you're asking, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not using confetti and I don't have a boa that sheds like a chicken. I don't think it'd pertain to me, but I would not pay the $500 damage and cleaning deposit.
So you would definitely recommend, in your case, you would have the conversation with the venue directly and say, obviously there was something in the past, and I want to just assure you that I'm not going to leave a mess.
Yeah.
And
and where can I send the insurance?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where can I send the insurance? And oh, by the way, I don't understand this $500 damage and cleaning deposit. Explaining it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully, like we just have that open conversation, and they would understand that, I don't do any of that stuff.
Now, Dan, since you're kind of a radical, how would you tell them
crazy.
to basically, take it and stuff? How?
I'm saying, no, I in my head, I'm trying to think of how I would legitimately respond because the person in me that doesn't want to stir waves, doesn't want to create a problem, especially if this gets sprung on me at the last moment. I would kind of wonder, and I would also ask, like, what the photo booth company and the DJ company are the same company, right? Like I'm one company that's there that night. So why do you legitimately need $500 for both? And then the next piece that I would kind of I would have the conversation with Cubbie, like, listen, if you're wanting this from me, what are the parameters where I don't get this back? Like if I decide to move forward and abide by this payment, which would probably be the last time I'm ever at your venue, why is this, like, what would keep this from happening? What would keep this from coming back? Kind of what Cubbie's saying is the why, but I would almost basically go from the standpoint of I want to know the full parameters of this, because I don't want to do $500 and then the bride or couple decides that they want to have let's say the foam wands. We all know the ends of those stupid little foam wands pop out and go all over the floor. Well, now you have someone that decides that they need to clean that up. Is that $500? Well, we have to pay our person to come along and sweep that, where we wouldn't have had to have them sweep it up the same way. So yes. Okay, then, but it's not mine. Yeah, but you were the one who like, you see what I mean? Like if there's something where I'm not getting it back, then I'm like, hold on. Like, because I don't agree with that type of mentality. If it's that you had someone decide to go through a floor one time with their speaker, okay, different story. But I would want to know the why first, and then most likely it would be the last time that I'd be going to that venue, because you think I made a mess, I'll stay and help you clean before I'm going to pay your $500. I would rather offer to do that.
Yeah. No,
If you need
that's
something
good.
cleaned, I'll stay and clean it.
Do you provide those foam sticks, Dan?
No.
I don't either. I'd be like, I don't. That's a couple thing. If they provide them, that's on them, not me.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually something that we tried to add in 2022 at the foam sticks. We thought, oh, this will be cool. Everyone's using them. This will be fun. And of course, they break apart so quickly, and kids are beating each other over the head with it, and then adults are beating each other over the head with it, and then some of them are zipping them up in their pants and walking around like they. So there was enough things where it's like, yeah, this was a bad idea. And then, then I lost my $500, so I was really not happy with it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again, man. Every time they put it in their pants, somebody ends up losing money. So, this would be one I would probably ask some of the same questions. I would probably break down and end up writing the check, and basically it's like, okay, if you feel that it's that important, I'll write the check out, and at the end of the night, you can hand me the check back, and that way we can move forward. And then, as you say, Dan, it'd probably be the last time I would be there, because I don't have a problem after I'm done with that last one. There is I've got my little list of places I won't go, and there's reasons for it. So,
Or if I had a couple that reached out about that venue, I would also let them know that, like, listen, this is something that you're going to have to cover if you want me to be there for you at that venue.
Yeah, very, very possible, or that would be an option, definitely. All right, guys, let's hit one more question here tonight. Final question tonight, guys, is dealing with payments, deposits, and such with your bookings. You book a show on 1 year, and it might be 2 years before you actually perform the show. When do you account for that money as income? Do you do it when the check comes in and you put it in the bank? Is that the year that it goes on your taxes? Or do you do it the week that, or the day of the event, that then it becomes income for you? How do you guys handle that?
The IRS isn't watching, right?
They actually don't, but this isn't actually it's almost an easy one. So the trick is there's really not a wrong answer except one wrong way. Go.
I pass it to my accountant.
Nice. That's not the answer we're looking for. Sorry.
But I would take it. I would account for it when I received it, because I don't do accrual banking or accounting. When I receive the funds, because I'm never getting them back. There's at no point in chance that they're never going to get any of that money back, whether it's a deposit or any payments made, because it stipulates in my contracts any payments made. If they're making payments, even though it's 2 years out, and it's a non-refundable deposit. So at that point in time, they're never getting any of that money back. So I have to account for it when I receive it.
And to that, I would say 2020. Basically, I wait until the day of the event. I wait until the day the event's over. That's when the money is officially mine, and that's when I split up the cost between what's the payment or what's the business money and what is my money. So I don't account for that money that's there, and I make sure that the amount that is in my business banking account covers all of those deposits, and any event that has paid me already up until that event, so that if anything ever happens to me, if I need to pay out to have somebody cover because I've suddenly become dead, like it's all taken care of. So I wait until the event, just from that standpoint. My comment about 2020 was just because there was that responsibility, like that was a situation where you couldn't, in some states you couldn't, without fear of it coming back on you. So, and I've also had stipulations where I've had the weddings get called off due to a death, or I had one where the couple was, the bride was going to be going through cancer and had to immediately move her date, and unfortunately moved it to a date that I wasn't available. Did my contract say I should keep it? Yes. Did my conscience and me as a person say I should keep it? Absolutely not. And I returned it without question. And so that's why I don't count for those things until the event happens, and then it's mine. The other place where I will give the money back is if something gets called off and I get a replacement event, then that original deposit gets sent back. But that's how I decide to handle my business.
So you're both right. Dan's doing the accrual method and Cubbie's doing the cash method of how they run their business. And the magic is that both methods are right. You could do either one, and then you'll talk to an accountant and they will both say, yes, that's fine. The magic or the problem is when people flip back and forth. You can't do one and then change to the other and then change to the other. You can't do that. You have to either run completely as a cash. When it comes in, it becomes income and it's reported on that particular year because it works out. This year's deposits will then, fill in for last year's, deposits, and your money should work out. And accrual is as it is. It becomes income when the services are provided. As long as you don't mix them up and go back and forth, you're fine. And either way can work. It really depending upon, as Dan spelled out there with his potential having to refund money because of a pandemic.
Yeah, and I'm saying I wouldn't. It would just go out as an expense.
Yeah,
if I had to refund something,
exactly.
I'd have to give just expense it out. I use this little thing called DJ Event Planner. It's amazing, and so it's easy to track all my payments and all if I had to refund anything. Or which again, those are kind of really rare circumstances that we run into that. I think, but
very rare. Yeah,
you having a quality CRM that you can track all that stuff makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, it has been a while since we've had to do that. And then there was that 2020, and then it's, so it doesn't happen very often indeed. Excellent. Okay, I think that takes us to, because I think the guys are going to be in the chill room tonight, djntv.com/chill. They're going to be in there and chatting away this evening. Tomorrow night, of course, is New Year's Eve, so for those of you going out, please be safe and be smart tomorrow night. If you're working tomorrow night, remember it's amateur night, so yeah, you're going to be hearing more people requesting the electric slide tomorrow night than any other time you're in a bar. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. And then, next week we will be coming back with our series of newer shows or some changes with our shows. So, and then we'll be starting actually a new season of many of our shows in February. We'll be we're going to be bringing in the final new ones for the winter and spring session. So you guys can be on the look out for that. So anything else, guys? Anything exciting?
No. Be safe out there. Have a great new year. Be very prosperous.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to do with any of our rah questions. We'll get those next time.
Did our show make the cut, John? Are we still gonna be back next Monday?
Yeah, we will be back next Monday. Yes.
Ooh, I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Although it was close, it was really close. But good stuff.
You didn't talk to me about it this year, so that I was worried there for a second. In the previous year, it's like, okay, we're gonna make these changes. Monday night's gonna still be. Didn't say that. I wasn't sure if that was the.
It's called being a postal person during the holidays. There's all of a sudden a completely different world, that just comes screaming at you and it's time to ship packages and
Did you say S-H-I-T or S-H-I-P?
Ship.
Okay.
Ship.
Okay.
Yeah. You're potty.
It's that Minnesotan accent.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. There was a Kmart commercial one time. It says, "I shipped my pants," but it was like PPED.
Yeah.
And it was the funniest thing. I shipped my shirt.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was hilarious.
It was actually, it was a good commercial. All right, Dan, take us home.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. If nothing else, hopefully get some humor in that last couple minutes. We very much appreciate you. Hope you have a great, happy new year and wondrous start to it. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.